New dress, new iPhone, new me. Okay, it's been a hot minute since I've sat down and done like a proper video. I did a what I ate today and then I did my Edinburgh vlogs. But my Edinburgh vlogs, you know, that wasn't like really a recovery. I mean, it had like food and stuff in it. It was a big recovery win for me, but it wasn't like, you know, advice or something. So I'm sorry it's been so long. Obviously I went to Edinburgh and then my iPhone decided to break, which was so much fun. Basically I'd smashed the screen anyway, but the audio, like the microphone, just like messed up big time. And I haven't really touched on my relapse, which happened about 6 weeks ago. But yeah, I just want to talk a lot about that because obviously that's something that I'm not going to ignore. It's something that I want to talk about with you guys so I can like kind of help you and, I don't know, like discuss what I learned, what I went through and that kind of thing. I don't know, I was thinking of doing like a sit down video just explaining a bit more about what happened and what I learned and stuff. Obviously I don't know what this video is going to be like. I might end up rambling and like covering most of the stuff that I would have put in that video in my like what I learned video anyway, so I'll see how this video goes. But yeah, I wanted to do a Q&A basically like of questions you guys have about my relapse, not so much about what happened and that kind of thing, but more about what I learnt and you know, how I recognised what was happening, that kind of stuff. Okay, first question I want to answer, I got a couple of like the same questions, but I'll try and do it in like, I don't know, just kind of a sensible order. Thought it'd be appropriate first to answer the question what triggered my relapse. But obviously I was doing so well, I'm not going to go into like too much detail because, you know, I don't want to like, you know, I don't want to get too triggering or stuff. So obviously I was in recovery for 2 years before I relapsed, so it definitely wasn't an overnight thing. I just like, you know, I didn't just wake up and decided I want to start listening to those negative thoughts again. It was a gradual thing. Basically, I covered at the beginning of the year that I wanted to start eating a bit more healthy just because last year I basically ate whatever the hell I wanted and I put on a lot of weight, and that's fine. Like size wise I was fine, but health wise I didn't feel healthy, you know. I was just like proving to myself that I could eat what I wanted and that I didn't have to listen to my eating disorder. So then at the beginning of the year I was like, right, I'm just going to start eating, you know, a little bit more fruit and vegetables, just kind of balancing it out. I didn't realise that it would take so long to find a balance, and I think I've only just found that balance, and I'm still working on keeping the balance up. So I was starting to feel a bit lost for the first time in 2 years. Like, you know, I wasn't just not really thinking about what I was eating and just enjoying myself. I was starting to think about what I was eating, and that was the first time I'd done that since the beginning of my recovery. And that made me feel really uneasy and really like anxious, and it didn't really trigger my eating disorder to come back, but it reminded me of what it was like to have my eating disorder, and then that's when my eating disorder came back, if that makes sense. Like, that's when the negative thoughts started again. I basically just started to feel very unsafe, and then I can't remember, but I think I went through like a bit of a low week, and yeah, basically it like started from there. I had a really low weekend. I don't have depression, but I have like, I struggle with low moods sometimes and I get depressed, like it's really bad. So a mix of me feeling a bit anxious around food and the eating disorder thoughts trying to come back in, mixed with the low mood that I was feeling at that time, they kind of just came together, and that's why I relapsed. I relapsed hard, like it came back very quickly. It came back gradually, like the thoughts, I wouldn't say the thoughts were there, but like, you know, I was feeling very anxious around food. I was a bit like weary, just felt a bit lost, but I didn't think I was going to relapse. And then I had that bad weekend, and all of a sudden all of the thoughts came back, and I started really acting upon these like negative thoughts, and it was really bad for a couple of days. It only lasted about 3-4 days, but obviously, you know, it's been 6 weeks and I'm still like recovering from that little blip. And it was kind of like a couple months in the making, maybe about 6 weeks. You know, had I been feeling a bit like iffy around food, and I'm still figuring that out, but I'm also more cautious now, not to, you know, let those thoughts come back in, even if I do feel a bit lost, because it's okay to feel a bit lost. You know, I've been like eating a certain way for the last couple of years. I want to make a change. That change isn't going to happen overnight, and with my history of food, not knowing what I'm doing with food, and, you know, in the middle of the transition, because it's not an overnight thing, in the middle of the transition feeling a bit lost is normal. And obviously I don't like feeling lost when it comes to my food. I want to know what I'm doing, because, you know, last time I felt a bit lost with my food, I had an eating disorder. Okay, lots of people asked this question. They said, was it harder to recover from my relapse, or was it harder to recover like the first time I recovered from anorexia? Like, so for me, that was the day I was diagnosed, was when I started following my meal plan and I started eating good again. Definitely easier from a relapse. I can understand why you'd think it would be hard to recover from a relapse, but if you think about it, you've got all these tools that you've learned for the last, you know, however long you've been recovering. So those tools that I've learned over the last 2 years for me, as soon as I kind of pulled myself out of that relapse, I went straight back to basics and I used that, and I knew it was going to work because it worked for me before. So yeah, it was easier this time. I totally get why people think it might not be, but I think, you know, you might be overthinking it. Like, it makes a lot of sense that it would be easier after a relapse, because the first time, you know, you're lost, you don't know what to expect, you don't know if you can do it or not. Obviously you can, but you always have doubts, whereas this time I knew I could do it. I didn't think for like a second, oh, this isn't going to get better, I'm going to stay in this relapse forever. You know, the second that I wanted to start looking after myself again, I did. Someone said, since my relapse, have I had any episodes of binge eating? I actually haven't. You know, there are definitely times where I've noticed that I have been craving foods that I wouldn't usually crave, or, you know, that kind of thing. After like starving, you know, your body, that's normal, and after not eating enough of the right foods or stuff. But yeah, I haven't had proper binges, because I used to have mini binges at the very beginning of my recovery, but now, you know, I knew what my body needed. I know what the human body needs to function, and most of the time binges are from cravings, from not eating enough and not giving yourself what your body needs. And obviously, you know, after being in recovery for so long, I know what my body needs to function, so I went straight back to eating that. And I think that's why I didn't binge, because my body wasn't craving anything in particular, because I was giving it what it needed. And that really helped with my mini binges at the beginning of my recovery. As soon as I, you know, started to eat a little bit of everything, like enough of everything, and just enough in general, like enough calories for my body and stuff, my body got used to, you know, being satisfied. Your body's just got to get used to a balanced diet. Someone said, how are you? Thank you for making videos. They always make me feel, they always make the hardest times a bit better. I can't read. Oh, thank you. That means a lot when people say stuff like that. And I'm really good. I'm doing better. Like, I still don't find food easy. I think it's because there's a mix of, it's a mix of someone with an eating disorder coming out of a relapse and trying to eat enough and trying to figure out what they want, and also it's a mix of, like, the other half of me is coming out of recovery because I've been in recovery for so long and I feel comfortable now, like a little bit of me does. And, you know, I'm trying to figure out just a normal lifestyle, and I'm not so much thinking about a meal plan or thinking too much about what I'm eating. I'm kind of coming out of recovery and going into like a normal lifestyle rather than a recovery lifestyle, because I feel like the two are a little bit different, and you kind of just gradually merge into, like, from one to the other. It's not something I feel like most people would have to think about. I don't know, I'm not most people, I'm one person. But I think I got confused between the two when I started to try and eat a little bit healthier in January. And yeah, you know, because sometimes I will go on nights out and I will miss dinner time, and I'm eating enough in general so I don't feel hungry and my body doesn't suffer from that. But, you know, it's still not a good habit to be in, but it's something that everyone my age does, and I don't know whether to, you know, do it because it's normal and my body isn't going to suffer because of that, or to listen to my recovery mindset and be like, oh no, I really shouldn't skip dinner. But then I think I'm pretty much like as recovered as I'm going to be, so why does it matter if I, you know, only have like a banana for my dinner when I know that I'm going to get back at 2 AM and eat a pizza? I am starting to become like most people my age, eating like them rather than eating like someone who's on a strict recovery plan coming out of anorexia. And I think having these accounts makes me feel like I have to be a bit more cautious, and it kind of makes me feel like I'm still in recovery more so than I actually am, which I kind of only just thought about until now. But hey, that makes a lot of sense. Hey, you guys are like my therapists. But like, do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? But I'm also, you know, still cautious, and I understand that I will probably be more cautious than the average person who doesn't have an eating disorder for the rest of my life, and that's okay, because, you know, it's better to be safe than sorry. But I don't know, I'm still finding my balance, but I know I will get there. It's kind of a trial and error, don't know what it is until I get there. But also, it's not like negatively affecting me, so I'm not worrying about it too much. This is a good question. Someone said, were there any early signs of relapse that you weren't aware of until now, looking back? Yes and no. Like, obviously there were kind of worrying signs, but I kind of brushed them off and I was like, you know what, I've been in recovery for 2 years, I'm gonna be fine. I don't feel bad about food now. But then obviously, you know, I had that low mood weekend and I had like a really tough week, and then it kind of, you know, triggered my relapse. It was more so like the triggers, like in January, just being triggered and upset and anxious around food, when I was trying to find my balance and being a bit too strict, like, you know, thinking about it too much, whereas now I'm letting it come naturally. I was thinking about it too much in January, and that didn't worry me to the point where I was like, oh my god, I need to calm down because this can turn into a relapse, because, you know, I didn't think I was going to relapse. I didn't expect it at all. Now looking back, there were definitely, I probably should have seen it come in sooner. I should have known that something was up, but I don't think I would have ever expected to relapse the way that I did. Someone said how to manage bad body image in a relapse. Obviously, like, during my relapse, it wasn't even so much that I wanted to lose weight, it was just my relationship with food. I feel like that's the kind of thing that went a bit tits up. It wasn't like triggered by my negative body image, because I didn't really have negative body image even throughout my relapse. But, you know, I just wanted to lose weight. I didn't hate what I looked like at the time, but I just wanted to lose weight because I had an unhealthy relationship with food for those couple of days. You know, I just wasn't in a very positive place mentally at all. But coming out of it, I have been a tiny bit more, I guess, conscious. Like, I'm very, very body positive, just because, you know, I love looking after my body and I think it's amazing, and the human body is a wonderful thing, blah blah blah, everybody's beautiful, healthy looks different on everyone and that kind of thing. So yeah, if there ever are any days where I kind of look in the mirror and I'm like, that literally lasts for a split second, and then I'm like, but what do I want to look like? Like, why would it matter if I looked any different than I do now? Like, how is that going to benefit me? How is that going to change me for the better? It's not. If anything, wanting to look different is gonna like do you harm mentally. So I kind of slap myself in the face and tell myself to snap out of it. Please don't actually slap yourself in the face. And after that relapse, I kind of want to look after my body even more so than ever, and that contributes to my body positivity. So, you know, it's just a gradual thing. It's something you learn with time, and also surrounding yourself with body positive people. There's lots of accounts on Instagram that help as well. And yeah, you know, that just following people and surrounding yourself with people and reminding yourself, being one of those people for yourself, that, like, why the hell does it matter? As long as you're healthy, that's all that matters. Health is the most important thing, because we need our bodies to take us through our life, and we shouldn't jeopardize that because we want to change the way that we look. Someone said biggest, what is the biggest? Someone said biggest, oh my god. Someone said biggest motivation to get better, not feeling like shit. During the relapse, it reminded me how bloody awful it is to listen to an eating disorder, how awful it is to be starving mentally and physically. Like, your brain doesn't think rationally. Like, I learned a lot of things from my dietitian about starving when I was in recovery. So to be actually starving and hear that stuff, like, and have it coming back to you, you're like, oh my god, yeah, no, that's right, like, I'm not thinking straight. Like, you can't think straight, you can't do stuff. Like, I had to cancel a driving lesson, which was my last driving lesson before my driving test, so I've had to push my test back 6 weeks. I would be passed by now if it wasn't for that. It just ruins your life. I had to take a couple of shifts off work. My music stopped. I stopped playing gigs for a couple of weeks. Like, that's not fun. Why the hell is that fun? And at the most, I lost a couple stones. Was it worth it? No. Am I gonna gain those pounds back if I haven't already? Yes. But yeah, that was just what motivated me. Like, I'd had a taste of recovery and I knew recovery was possible. I'd had a big taste of recovery, a couple of years of it, and I was like, yeah, recovery is kind of more fun than not eating. And also I like food. You know, I built up a life for myself from recovery. I have a job, I have relationships, I have friends. Not relationships, multiple boyfriends, I'm not one of those girls. I have hobbies, you know, my music's going well. I've built up a life for me, so I had more to lose this time round, because last time, a couple of years ago, when I was listening to my eating disorder, I didn't have as much going for me because I'd been listening to my eating disorder for so long. So this time it was like, I knew recovery was possible, so obviously I wanted to do it. There was no like question about is this possible or is it not. I knew it was because I'd done it for a couple of years already and it was good. And yeah, I just had so much more going for me. Someone said, how did my What? Why can't I talk? Someone said, how did my family and friends react to my relapse? They were really nice as always. I kind of just casually slip it into a conversation with my friends. Like, they'll be like, oh, hey, you coming out this weekend? And I was like, no, you know, I've been struggling a bit with my eating. They probably know what that means. They don't have to know, you know, that I've relapsed really badly. I didn't feel like it was necessary because I don't see them every single day. I see them like once a week at the most. Obviously I'm not in school or college or uni. It just made me feel better to know that they knew that, and so, you know, it was just a lot less anxiety causing. And also my family were really good. I told my mum, she was the first person I told, and then I told my dad as well. You know, so because obviously I live with him, so I wanted him to be able to keep an eye on me, because that stuff is really helpful too, and it reminds you, you know, if your loved ones are telling you to eat, then obviously eating is the right answer, because they want nothing but good things for you, because it's your family. So yeah, they were really understanding, they were really good. I think I was more scared. They didn't seem scared. I was expecting them to be like, oh my god, it's the end of the world, I didn't see this coming. But I think, you know, they were kind of like protecting me. I think I was more scared than they were, because they probably knew that I was going to be fine, whereas I was like, I can't believe I've relapsed after like 2 years. But when you're in a dark place, there's always a little voice that's like, oh, you're never gonna get better, you know, otherwise you would get better straight away if that voice didn't exist. Someone said, how did I turn the situation around and make it a learning experience? I just think lots of people, like in the Instagram community and stuff, talk about how relapsing is okay, and that helped me so much. Otherwise I would have literally freaked out and been like, why on earth after so long is this happening? I thought I was fine. And also, obviously, you know, it didn't happen overnight. It was like a gradual thing. I've recognised now that in January I was probably being too strict, so I'm not going to do that again. It made me recognise in January I was being too strict and that I needed to change, you know, from how I was acting in January and behaving towards food. I'm just kind of one of those people, I'm very observant and aware, and I think a lot, that I just learn something from everything. Like, I'm always aware of what's going on, how I'm feeling, so I just know what I've learned, if that makes sense. That's probably why I always seem so positive, when actually, you know, to learn something you kind of have to, you know, go through a shitty stage and make a mistake, or go through a hard time. It doesn't just come to you and you realise it. After my relapse, I just kind of stood back and was like, okay, why did this happen? You know, what did I do wrong? Was it something that I did? Do I need to, you know, take things more slowly? Which I did do for about a week. I started taking it a lot more slowly and not eating half as much. I think at the most I was eating 1,000 calories, which it really isn't enough. That's not even half the amount that I should be eating, but that's what I could manage without overwhelming myself, and that only lasted a week. Now I'm eating enough. Being very observant means that you can learn a lot from the stuff that you go through. So yeah, it's taught me that it's okay to relapse. It doesn't matter who you are, it's okay to struggle. I knew that it was okay not to be okay, but this kind of brings like a whole new meaning to it. It's taught me to be more body confident, like even more than I was before. I don't give a crap what my body looks like now, I really don't. And while I am a little bit more conscious than I've been the last 6 months or so, I'm learning to enjoy looking after it even more. And then I know once I get a lot more comfortable with food again, even more so than I was before my relapse probably, then I will start, you know, the energy that I'm putting into feeling a little bit insecure at the moment will be put into feeling even more body confident than ever, because that's just kind of how it works for me. And then yeah, it also taught me that I'm not gonna stress too much about being really strict with my eating. So that's all the questions. There was like a lot more, but they were very similar to other questions that were asked. But thank you for asking questions, if you did, on my Instagram, which is always linked in the description. #follow me. Now that I have my phone, I'm going to start filming a lot more. Let me know if there's any like particular videos that you want to see, or DM me on Instagram. I'm always up for suggestions because I do get stuck. Now that like my music's going well, my job's going well, my life is going well, even my social life is the best it's ever been. You know, my last thing that I want to work on and that I really want to, you know, become great and productive again is my YouTube, because I let it slip obviously through my relapse. So I want to start uploading on Instagram more again, and on here especially, because I've been really bad with my YouTube. Whoops. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe if you did, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.